I remember when the planes crashed on 9/11 10 years ago today. I was just a kid then, and I never really understood the full scope of what had happened. And in so many ways, today, 10 years later, I'm still just a kid, and I still cannot really register the scope of everything that happened on 9/11, 2001. Just like on that fateful day, today, 10 years later, I was just going about life, worrying about myself and all my little problems. And then my family visited the healing field, the 9/11 10-year memorial at Cannonsburg Ski Area in Cannonsburg, Michigan. It's 3,200 flags for the 3,200 people that died in 9/11. Most of the flags had tags with short biographies attached, and the site was just difficult to register and take in. I haven't experienced a whole lot of tragedy in my life, and I can barely comprehend the loss of one dear friend or one loved one. And here's 3,200 people who all mattered to somebody, or maybe meant the world to someone. And some of the biographies were short and clipped, but many had a lot of detail. One that stood out to me in particular was that of a woman who was known for having a busy life, but always being there. As a result, she was often late. She would burst into a dance recital or a play. She was the last one in, but she was always there. And she and so many people like her, thanks to the 9/11 attacks, will never be there again. So many people are angry and upset that God would allow something like 9/11 to happen, that God wouldn't just reach down his hand and stop it all. And I don't pretend to have any amazing answers about that. But I do know one thing. If God just reached down his hand and magically stopped everything and stopped the planes cold, I frankly doubt we would be very grateful. We would just continue our lives like normal. As a result of 9/11, there were people who were praying. Witnesses who were there on ground zero walked the streets. They watched people with their heads bowed and their lips moving silently. And there were so many groups of beautiful people who were gathered together to pray hard for restoration and healing in the aftermath. Hundreds of churches were planted in New York after the attacks. And if it takes something like that to awaken us, to awaken me, to eternity, to transcend this to humility to God, if it takes that to wake us up and make us open our eyes, what kind of state are we in? So many atheists are getting upset about the crosses that they're showing on TV from the wreckage and everything from ground zero. But I can tell you this, the cross is the only religious symbol that I can think of that makes remote sense within the context of 9/11. Because a cross is the only religious symbol I know of that understands the strange beauty of redemption through death and hope through pain. So the cross is the only religious symbol that can actually decipher 9/11, sympathize with it, say, I was there, come alongside it and march with it, be with it, in it, be present there in 9/11 and make sense within the context. And I know that so many of the heroes of 9/11 marched with the message of the cross. So many firemen and policemen and ordinary people like Todd Beamer, they made the ultimate sacrifice. And I know so many of them knew that Jesus was there first. Jesus entered into the hopelessness. He entered into sacrifice. He showed those heroes how to do it. So we remember 9/11 and its devastation. We must learn its lesson and never forget it. For those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. We remember the heroes of 9/11 who kept things from being worse than they were and who showed us hope in the face of chaos. Shining hope like stars in a black sky in the face of a nightmare. The tragedy that was 9/11, 2001.
Friedensprozess kümmere. Am Mittag stürzte der zweite Turm des Welthandelszentrums ein.